Hey, Truth Seekers, welcome back. Zach here. In this video, I'm going to talk about the upcoming NCAA men's basketball tournament, which begins tomorrow, Thursday, March 17th, 2016. If you can believe it, this past week there was a train crash story in Kansas. And if you're not aware, the Kansas college basketball team is the favorite to win the tournament. Last year, just before the start of the NBA Finals, there was a train wreck in Philadelphia, which was all coded out for the upcoming NBA championship, which the Golden State Warriors won. The Golden State Warriors are originally from Philadelphia. The Philadelphia Warriors were the first basketball team to win an NBA championship, and last year's May 12th Philadelphia train wreck was a coded tribute to the upcoming basketball championship and more. This story from Kansas, another Amtrak train crash, just as it was in Philadelphia nearly a year ago, is a tribute to the upcoming men's basketball tournament. The people who do this create these riddles in news stories that have to do with sports. They are the Freemasons, and they are a powerful secret society. I'm quite convinced that the train that was shown in the media crashed in Kansas was empty. I don't think anyone was on board. I think this was a contrived news story, all part of this secret tribute for what's to come in the basketball tournament. And I'm about to talk about why I think the men's championship tournament on April 4th will be Kansas versus North Carolina. I came out with these blog findings the same day, March 14th. I know earlier today, March 16th, President Obama put out his bracket, and he has Kansas defeating North Carolina. I think North Carolina is going to defeat Kansas. I could have that backwards. But let's get into it. I'll explain why. So they said 32 people were injured in this Amtrak crash that happened on Monday, March 14th, Pi Day. What stands out about the 32 is, for one, it's the America number. America in Gematria equals 32. July 4th, 1776, the date the nation's first birthday. Numerology of 32. What else has Gematria of 32 is KU for Kansas University. The acronym for the school for the basketball team. KU equals 32. A crash in Kansas. The date numerology of the wreck, interesting. 26 stands out. Life lesson number of 26 that day. Train equals 26. Happened on the 74th day of the year, a date with 33 numerology. These are Masonic signatures. From the Philadelphia train wreck to March 14th, the date of the Kansas train wreck, was a span of exactly 44 weeks. And last year, 44 was a very big number on the college tournament as well as the NBA championship. The tournament was won by Duke out of North Carolina, which is headed by Coach K, who's born on the 44th day of the year. He defeated Wisconsin, which has Gematria 44. Their star player wore the number 44 for Wisconsin, and his birthday was April 4th, 4-4. This year, the college championship is on April 4th. Last year, the NBA Finals was very much centered around 44. The Cleveland Cavaliers were in their 44th year of existence. Their star player, King James, his nickname in Gematria sums to 44. He scored 44 points in Game 1. Game 1 was synced up with Lupercalia, the festival from the 44th day of the year. Lupercalia in Gematria equals 44 the small way, 98 the big way. Game 1 of the NBA Finals went to overtime 98-98. Exactly 111 days after Lupercalia, the 44th day of the year. The reason 111 is significant is because the NBA Finals equals 111 in Gematria. All this syncing up, it's all evidence of the rig spectacles that are, from the train wrecks to the sports games themselves, which are scripted in the same way theater is, such as plays and movies. The athletes we see before us on the collegiate stage, on the professional stage, they are athletic actors following a script often. You can go back and watch my videos from last year. I go into it a lot deeper. I just want you to know that there's major parallels between these train wrecks, and in this case, they're connected to basketball games. Amtrak in gematria sums to 64. This is interesting because March Madness, the nickname for the tournament, has gematria of 46 and 64. We'll talk about Kansas school's name in a second and how it connects to 64. March Madness in simple English gematria also sums to 118. The Kansas Jayhawks basketball program is 118 years old this year. Nice connection for March Madness. Here's the shots from Kansas, supposedly the train that crashed. 32 people injured. They say it came off the tracks near Dodge City, Kansas. What stands out about the gematria of Dodge City, Kansas is the 85. Basketball equals 85. I point out that Kansas in simple English gematria sums to 65. Roy Williams, who's the current coach of North Carolina, is the former coach of the Kansas Jayhawks, and he is currently 65 years old. Also, the last time the Jayhawks have been on a winning streak since January 30th. From January 30th to the date of the championship, April 4th, is a span of 65 days. No coincidence. From the date of the train wreck to the date of April 4th is a span of 22 days. Basketball, the small way, equals 22. The big way, 85, like Dodge City, Kansas. This wreck, 22 days before the championship. The train also crashed near Garden City. What stands out to me about this location, Garden City, is the gematria of 106. This is the number of prophecy. The Philadelphia train wreck last year, they said the train was traveling 106 miles per hour. Another parallel. The story is that the train was heading from Los Angeles to Chicago. This is what Route 66 was, the first highway built across the nation. It went from Chicago to Los Angeles. Also, Los Angeles is the home of UCLA, the school that has won the most basketball championships in the men's tournament. They've won 11. Chicago, it's also the Zionist Mecca. Chicago will be hosting the Midwest round up to the Elite Eight this year. The Cyclones, Iowa State Cyclones, are in that conference, the last team to beat Kansas. The map of where the train crashed in Kansas said it was BNSFL Railway. Just want you to notice that Kansas Jayhawks has this gematria of 64, like Amtrak, like March Madness. Alright, so now let's also go back last year and look at Philadelphia's train wreck. It happened on May 12th, 23 days before the June 4th start of the NBA Finals. Remember, last year the college championship was on April 6th, 4/6, which can be written 4/6 or 6/4. Remember, March Madness equals 46, 64. The NBA Finals started on June 4th. The reflection of when the college championship was April 6th, 4/6, 6/4. Anyway, Amtrak Crash, 23 days before the start of the NBA Finals. 23 connects with LeBron James, who was the star attraction of the NBA Finals, who would lose to the Warriors originally from Philadelphia. That wreck happened at 9:23 p.m. Check this out. LeBron James in Jewish gematria equals 923, a lot like the time of the train wreck. And after the NBA Finals, he starred in this movie called Trainwreck that came out July 17th, 2015. From the date of the train wreck to the date of the movie Trainwreck coming out was a span of 66 days. LeBron in simple English gematria sums to 66. From the date of the NBA Finals beginning to the date of the movie coming out was a span of 44 days. Again, 44, a major number on last year's NBA Finals. The Cavs in their 44th year of existence. King James equals 44. So that was some of the parallels between the Philadelphia train wreck and the NBA Finals last year. Same thing with the Amtrak this year and the college championship. This year, the college championship will be the 78th year that it has been played. It began in 1939. The first ever college championship was won by Oregon over Ohio State. Oregon has never won since. It's interesting to note that 2 years ago was the first college football playoff championship, also between Oregon and Ohio State. Oregon, the only state with gematria of 74. Ohio, one of two states with a gematria of 47. 47, 74, very important numbers to the Masons, who have always rigged their sports leagues by the numbers. You study these sports, you see the people who created them were Freemasons. Freemasonry has had a lot of influence on our culture, our society. So anyhow, with regards to this being the 78th college tournament ever, the head coach of Kansas, who replaced Roy Williams, who went to North Carolina, is named Bill Self. And his full name, Billy Eugene Self, has gematria of 78, fitting for this being the 78th tournament all time. We'll talk about Roy Williams' connections to 78 in just a minute. Bill Self, born December 27th, 1962, a date with a life lesson number of 57. When you write out 57 as a word, it sums to the same thing as championship, the same thing as Super Bowl, same thing as World Series. This is a number connected to winning. That said, Kansas has already won a national championship under Bill Self, and sometimes if you have this number coded on you, it only means you're going to make it to the championship. It doesn't mean you'll win it necessarily. Kansas is said to be the favorites to win the tournament, 9-2 odds at the time I wrote this, Monday, March 14th. Lifetime, Bill Self has never lost to Roy Williams, so if he did, it would be a first. Again, the Kansas Jayhawks are in their 118th year of existence. March Madness equals 118. A lot lining up for them. I want you to notice that all time in the tournament, they have 97 wins, 43 losses. 43 is interesting because it's one short of 44, and also March in gematria equals 43, fitting for March Madness. If they lost in the national championship on 4-4, they would earn their 44th loss all time in the tournament, which is what I'm anticipating to happen. I could have it wrong, but that's what I see coming, and we'll talk more about it. Here's that gematria of March, 43. So now here's the head coach of North Carolina, Roy Williams, who previously coached Kansas. He never won a national championship there. He came close. He's won 2 at North Carolina, just like his predecessor, Dean Smith. He's currently 65 years old. Again, Kansas equals 65. The name Coach Roy Williams has gematria of 78. I want you to notice that Williams has gematria of 44, fitting for the championship on 4-4 this year. Roy Williams alone equals 57, the number connected to championship. Him and Bill Self, both champions, coaching for championship basketball programs. Roy Williams in simple English gematria sums to 156. 911 is the 156th prime number. Remember this because we're going to talk about North Carolina's star senior and his connection to the number 911, as well as 78. Roy Williams, his birthday, August 1st, 1950, a date with 78 numerology. Very nice connection for it being the 78th tournament this year. Roy Williams also began his college coaching career at University of North Carolina as an assistant in the year 78. So he began coaching with this school in 78. He would later go to Kansas and then return back to North Carolina. From the championship this year to his birthday, which will be his 66th birthday, is a span of 119 days. That's a special number to the Masons and Zionists. Oftentimes, the championships are synced up with the birthdays. So I just bring this up. All seeing eye equals 119, Star of David. Sometimes things can be a coincidence, but usually not. Kansas 65. He's 65 years old. A lot lines up for a North Carolina Kansas championship. And as I said earlier today, Obama picked the championship to be North Carolina and Kansas, just like I picked this past Monday. Earlier this year, Obama picked the Carolina Panthers to defeat the Broncos in the Super Bowl. He got it backwards. I was saying all season how it was scripted for the Broncos. In December, I said it looked like the championship, the Super Bowl, would be Broncos and Panthers for the race war symbolism. And prior to the Super Bowl, I guaranteed Broncos would win, Von Miller would be MVP, and there would be a Black Panthers tribute. I did all of this by decoding the numbers and the history. It's a lot of work, something I've been working at for a long time. But again, having this knowledge is the only way I'm able to make these projections. You should know that I haven't watched a single college basketball game this past year. I hardly watched any NFL football. But I've always known these sports are scripted, and now I've figured out the method how. So Roy Williams, he has won 2 championships with North Carolina, just as Dean Smith did, the Hall of Fame coach for the team who passed away last year on February 7th, 2015, a year to the day of the Carolina Panthers losing in the Super Bowl. Dean Smith won college championships in 82 with Jordan, and then again 11 years later in 93. Dean Smith and Gematria equals 93. He won it in 93. With regards to him winning in 82 with Jordan, that was 34 years ago. In Tar Heels, the nickname for North Carolina, Tar Heels and Gematria equals 34. It would be fitting for them to win 34 years later, 2016. The date Dean Smith passed on, February 7th, 2015, a date with 44 numerology. Again, this year's championship on a date with 44 numerology, April 4th. This stat about Roy Williams and his time at Kansas, he finished with an 805 winning percentage. Remember, in numerology, 0 doesn't count, so 805 is a lot like 85. Again, basketball equals 85. I'll link these posts. You can read more. There's even more interesting information here. Lots of coded history in the sports teams. As for UNC, they're currently 106 years old. And remember, 106 is the number of prophecy. This Kansas train wreck happened in Garden City, which has gematria of 106. Last year, the Philadelphia train wreck, 106 miles per hour. Important number. Notice in NCAA tournaments, there are 112 and 44. The 44 losses really stands out. If they go undefeated in the tournament, they'll win on 4-4, maintaining these 44 losses. And to win the championship, they have to win in the round that has 64 teams, 32 teams, 16 teams, 8 teams, 4 teams, 2 teams. They have to win 7 times. That would put them at 119 wins and 44 losses. Remember, all seeing eye equals 119. This year, Roy Williams' birthday comes 119 days after the championship. UNC as a school would be at 119 tournament wins if they did it. These are the syncs that I look for when I predict by the numbers. As for April 4th this year, 4/4/2016, Not only is it April 4th, but it's also a date with 44 numerology. 4 plus 4 plus 20 plus 16 equals 44. And when you write out 44 and April 4th, it sums to 144. Remember, the name Williams equals 44. I can totally see UNC finishing the tournament with a record of 119 and 44. We'll see if it's to be. And again, Dean Smith, dead on the date with 44 numerology. A win by UNC would be a tribute to him. The man who Roy Williams began with as an assistant. Now check this out. According to ESPN, on Monday, the favorites to win the tournament were Kansas, North Carolina, Michigan State, Virginia. The media has now bumped Michigan State up above North Carolina. The top two teams they're saying are Kansas and Michigan State. And I think Michigan State will make the Final Four, but I think they're going to get beat, and I think it's going to end up being Kansas and North Carolina. Here they point out how Kansas has won all their games since January 30th. January 30th up to the championship is 65 days. Kansas equals 65. The last team Kansas lost to was the Iowa State Cyclone that have gematria of 65. Iowa State Cyclones equals 65. There should be an S there. That's a typo. Again, Roy Williams, 65. Check out the gematria of UNC versus Kansas, 144, connecting to all the other 44s. And again, if UNC defeats Kansas, they're going to have 44 losses in the tournament, just like North Carolina. See how all of this comes together? North Carolina, their blurb says that their star senior, Marcus Page, has been having a disappointing season. And had he not been having a disappointing season, North Carolina might be the number one team in the nation, the favorites to win the tournament. I think Marcus Page is going to play really well in this tournament. I wouldn't even be surprised if he's been purposefully tanking just so it can be a little bit of a Cinderella story for North Carolina, who are not the favorites to win this tournament. A lot of people who I've told I think that North Carolina is going to win have said, oh, that would be a surprise. So even though they're considered one of the best teams, it would still be a surprise if they won. Check this out about Marcus Page. His birth name is Marcus Taylor Page, born on September 11th, 9/11, 11/9, these numbers we're talking about. He's born in the year 93, the year North Carolina won with Dean Smith. He's currently 22. Look at Marcus Taylor Page in Gematria Truth Seeker, 78. This is the 78th men's tournament. He has life numbers of 42, 33, 113, all very special numbers to the Freemasons, as well as the date September 11th. And again, him being 22, basketball the small way equals 22. I think Marcus Page is going to be one of the feel-good stories of the tournament. A senior who turned it on when it mattered, leading his team to a national championship. It'll be North Carolina's 6th championship if they win. Down in the description, I'm going to link these two posts from Brother Berg. Brother Berg has learned from me, but he has a great mind and he puts a spin on the gematria studies and he catches a lot of things I don't. So I'm going to link this article of his on the tournament as well as another. He has two great articles on why he thinks North Carolina is going to win as well. You can learn these skills and you can apply this and you can make your own finds. For those of you who follow the sports, you can get better than this at me because you know the narratives, you know the players. I don't know this stuff right now, so it makes it harder for me. I had to study all this real hard Monday to make the connections. If I knew what was going on in the leagues, it would be even easier. Anyhow, let's also look at Michigan State, a favorite. They're currently 117 years old. Next year, they're going to be 118. Michigan State, already an early favorite for me to win the tournament next year. Tom Izzo, I did a video on the tributes he was getting last year in the tournament. A lot of the scores, if you're aware of the numbers, you see how the games are scripted. Tom Izzo in Gematria sums to 43 like March, one of the most winningest coaches in March Madness. Tom Izzo also equals 106, number of prophecy, a coach who has won a championship in the past. Lots of interesting numbers on Tom Izzo. They were champions in 99, 2000. not since, but a lot of high finishes for him. Final Four, Elite Eight, Sweet 16, all good accomplishments. But I just don't think Michigan State, I don't think they have the alignment this year as other coaches do. Next year will also be Izzo's 22nd year coaching Michigan State. Again, basketball equals 22. The word coach equals 21. This is his 21st year. If I'm wrong and he does win, you know, keep these numbers in mind. He did have the 106 number going, but again, the alignment isn't as strong here as it is for the other teams. Notice Izzo's birthday is January 30th, the day that the Kansas win streak won. If the championship does end up being Michigan State Kansas, I think that will factor in. And that's the overwhelming matchup that the media's picked. It's a possibility. But I'll tell you what, Truth Seeker, I'm going to be putting a bet on North Carolina and Kansas, not Michigan State. So that's what I'm going with. Another school that a lot of people are looking at is Oklahoma Sooners. They're in their 109th year. They have some interesting numbers. Sooners has gematria of 33 and 42. This year, the Final Four takes place on April 2nd, a date with 42 numerology. Oklahoma as a team would be playing for their 42nd win on that date. Very interesting. And that game will likely be Kansas versus the Sooners. So I expect Kansas to beat Oklahoma in that game. But then again, you never know. The coach of Oklahoma is Lon Kruger. Kruger's a name with the 44 gematria, which lines up with the championship. His birthday comes 137 days this year after the championship. 137 is the 33rd prime number. Lonnie and Sooners have gematria of 33. Lonnie, his birth name, goes by Lon Kruger. So a little alignment there for Oklahoma. But I think they'll be going down in the Final Four. So I think those are the likely Final Four teams: Kansas, North Carolina, Michigan State, Oklahoma. Oregon will probably get upset early as a number 1 seed. They like to pick on the West Coast teams. Seems that college has a lot of hate for the West Coast for whatever reason. Virginia Cavaliers, another favorite in the tournament. They're in their 111th year, coached by Tony Bennett. Tony Bennett has gematria of 46, like March Madness. He's also currently 46 years old. He's from Wisconsin, one of the states with 44 gematria. His birthday comes 58 days after the tournament. You know, there's alignment here, there's a narrative, but not like there is for Kansas and North Carolina, especially with the history of Roy Williams at Kansas. So this is why my pick is North Carolina over Kansas. If you disagree with my pick, if you got your knowledge from watching the sport, please don't be influenced by me. But then again, I have been right about a lot of championships in the past year. For the college football championship, I guaranteed Alabama would win. That was easy to see. This is not as easy of a pick as the football championship was. It was easy to see number 16 for Alabama in 2016, plus a few other things. Remember, though, with regards to the football championship, it ended with 85 points, and the team from Carolina went down. As I pointed out, National Football League equals 85, and there were parallels to the Super Bowl. And as I said at the time, we'll probably see the Carolina Panthers going down to the Denver Broncos, just like how Clemson went down to Alabama. In both the Super Bowl and the college championship, there were some major parallels. Carolina teams, also stiff white quarterbacks, lost to superior black quarterbacks. No coincidence there. It was all part of the script. But anyway, as we know, Carolina dominates at basketball, not so much at football. So I expect Carolina to get their due in this basketball game. Basketball equals 85. All these college and professional championships might have also been pointing to the men's basketball tournament, one of the biggest sporting events of the year next to the Super Bowl, the college championship. and the other big sports attractions. So that pretty much sums it up, Truth Seeker. Good luck with your bracket. We'll see if I'm right before long. If you think I'm wrong, let me hear about it. I'd love to hear your opinions. I can always be persuaded with information. Until next time, Truth Seeker. Encore, Truth Seeker. One last important point. I want you to notice that the word prophecy in simple English gematria sums to 106. Again, North Carolina is in their 106th year of existence. We had this train wreck in the city with the 106 gematria. Just like last year, the Philadelphia train wreck was traveling 106 miles per hour. Notice that prophecy in Jewish gematria sums to 666. We were talking earlier about the number 144. When you say mark of the beast, it typically references the number 666, and there is a relationship between 144 and 666. If you add the first 144 decimal points of pi, and remember the Dodge City train wreck happened on March 14th, known as Pi Day. If you add the first 144 decimal points of pi, it sums to 666. 2016 is what I am referring to as the year of 666. There are a lot of 666 numerology connections to 2016. Anyhow, if North Carolina wins this year in their 106th year of existence, they will have achieved their sixth title in the year of 666 with the prophecy connections, with the mark of the beast, 144 connections. I think this is all part of the script, and this is why I expect North Carolina to be trimming the net April 4th. So hopefully you can follow that. Until next time, Truth Seeker.